to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. Thanks for joining us this week. So here's the deal, in the show title, Enlightenment of Change, that word change, we go, oh, right? It throws us into a tailspin. And here's the reality, no matter whether you've chosen the change or the change has been thrust upon you, change is never an easy thing to navigate. Here's the thing I have learned in my time on Earth. Every time I have been faced with challenges, change, whatever it might be in my career, business, etc., communication at the core will make or help you navigate that change with a little bit more ease and grace. So in the show notes, you're going to see my communication style assessment. It's my gift to you. Take it. You're going to get 2 reports. First report really just spotlights your natural communication superpowers, i.e., how your message usually just lands without you thinking about it. Flip side, what happens when we're communicating with people who are 180 degrees different than us? That is, to me, is the more important report because it's your lowest score. That potentially could be a blind spot that could be holding you back or creating angst with whatever change is happening. So again, link is in the show notes, my gift to you. And I hope it helps you navigate, again, whatever change you're facing, whether it be career, life, etc. Now, today I chose for my conversation with my guest, I chose a quote by this wonderful Simon Sinek, and he says, "Be the leader you wish you had." Now, when I found this quote, I actually laughed because during my 20 years when I was in corporate before I started my business, in that period of time, I probably had about 10 different bosses. Only one was worth his weight in salt, which is kind of sad, right? I trusted him. I respected him. I can't say the same for the other 9. So I have learned that charisma is not necessary to be an effective leader. What really matters is your ability to inspire hope, instill confidence, and demonstrate a clear vision of overcoming obstacles. And that's what he did for me and for our executive team. So who is my guest today that we are going to talk about this amazing topic of good leadership? Her name is Katya Hughes. And Katya and I were going to talk about practical strategies and really personal insights to help you develop and enhance your critical leadership skills. So Katya is the founder and CEO of Inflection Point Studio. She is a thought leader in business operations with nearly 20 years of senior leadership experience in high-pressure industries like aerospace and defense. She's held senior leadership roles in established companies such as Honeywell, Aerospace, and Northrop Grumman, and startup organizations like GOGO, Wi-Fi, and Virgin Galactic. I hope I said that right. I thought Star Wars just then. Katya, thank you for being on the show, and I am excited for our conversation today.
Connie, hello, and thank you for having me on your show. I'm really excited to be part of your podcast.
And I'm excited to have you. So Katya and I met, oh my gosh, it's got to be a couple of months ago now. We belong to same networking event. And this last time, she and I were put in one of the little rooms, what do you call them, breakout rooms. And so we really got to know each other. And as we were talking, I'm like, I think we need to talk about this leadership thing on a show. And that's why Katya is here. So I'm excited to have you, my friend. So let's start. I always like to start when we talk about a topic, right? What does, in this case, leadership, what does it mean to you? It grounds the conversation, Katya, for the listener. So what does leadership mean to you?
What a great question, Connie. To me, a leader is a person who is there for us through thick and the thin. It's a consistent persona who knows what to say and when they say just the right thing to get us moving and instill confidence in the organization that the team is moving in the right direction and can handle the roadblocks. And I say all of this because if you have the confidence over your team, you can bring them along with you on the Carter's journey. So that's what leadership means to me.
Yeah, and here's the thing, right? And my quote and the charisma piece of it, right? Everybody thinks a title equates to a good leader, right? They've achieved that, so therefore they must be. And again, in my 20 years, the 10 different people I reported to, really only one of them was truly really a leader, what I would say a leader. He trusted us, he empowered us, he listened to us, he collaborated with us. It wasn't just him, this is what we're going to do. We had meetings about execution, and he shared his perspective. Like my
Mhm.
expertise was always sales, right? So he would lean on me when we were trying to create a sales process or something for our teams, versus someone who was more operationally sound than I was. So again, it's really observing your team, I think, too, and positioning so you create success, right? Which creates more success and more success, and then we become like the snowball effect, right?
Oh my gosh, I love this analogy. Definitely, always tell my team that positive behaviors are contagious. In fact, all of the behaviors are contagious. And if you start doing the right things and you lead by example, then it starts, like you said, snowballing, and people are gonna pick up the good positive vibe, and your leadership, your positive leadership skills will be then translated into their great leadership skills,
Yeah.
and it's just gonna roll right through the organization, and that will be one of the factors that will keep everybody aligned.
The other thing too, Katya, that I've seen with, again, with my clients and with different bosses, if you will, within organizations, some are loud. They feel like they have to scream. It's their own lack of confidence, right? Or whatever. And I remember as you were talking, I was thinking about my kids were
Yeah.
little. They were little boys. And we went to a communion. I happened to be at a party in the backyard. And my friend had, those little tykes houses, the plastic houses. All the
Yes,
kids were
yes.
climbing on it, jumping off. And there were a lot of kids, right? There was probably 20 families there. And I kept thinking, somebody's gonna get hurt. Not my monkey, not my circus. Keep your mouth shut. My kids were online to climb on top of the thing. And all I did, I kept an eye. I didn't say a word, I didn't go over, I didn't pull them out, right? They kept looking over at me, looking over at me, looking over at me. I didn't say anything again. I didn't react. They were up next in line. They both looked over at me. And all I did, Katya, is I took my head, for those listening on Apple and not on YouTube, I just did
Yeah.
like the no with my head, and they quietly got off and went, to play on the swings or whatever. And one of my friends noticed. She goes, "How did you just do that?" And I said, "What did I do?" And she says, "You just looked at them and nodded your head no, and they got out of line. How did you do that?" And I said, "Well, because in the car on the way over, I quietly said to them, what is my expectation at this party, right? You behave, good behavior. What does that mean? You're right. It is good behavior. What does that mean to you?" And we had not screaming, not yelling, not badgering them. They knew, though, in their gut, right? They knew I shouldn't be doing this. And I was the guide that, right, through
Yes.
experience and through setting that table, they knew if I look at mom, I'll know the right thing to do. That's what a leader does. You don't have to scream and yell. It's leading by example without having to do these subtle little pieces of the puzzle, if you will, right? Help people navigate forward.
Yes. Oh, I love that you have highlighted the fact that leadership is not about having charisma. So for the longest time, we believe that leadership must be charismatic. The truth is, one does not have to be charismatic to be a leader, because um, I'm going to quote Dave Cody, who was the CEO of Honeywell Aerospace. And in one of his recent books, he said that charisma and ability to inspire is only 10 to 15%
Mm,
of leadership. The
mm.
rest of it, which is the bulk of it, has to do with your ability to shape strategy and then drive execution. Shape strategy and drive execution. And I think the reason for it is you could be so fantastic and inspirational in your staff meeting. You could be saying fantastic quotes to get your team excited during your all hands. But when your team comes back to their desks and start their work, and even they feel empowered and inspired, all of that is gonna very quickly disappear once they face continuous roadblocks in the organizational processes or systems. So as leaders, yes, we do need to figure out how to inspire people, how to instill the confidence in us. But the rest of the job, the tough part, is actually resides in being strategic, in being able to hold others accountable.
Do you think that's an underestimated quality of a great leader, that we think leader, inspire, lead by example, all those things we've heard, these little catchphrases, if you will, but that
Yeah.
strategic thinking, do you think that like foundationally, that was the word I was trying to think of, but foundationally, do you think that's really what translates to a good leader, having that strategic mind?
Yes, and I want to take it even a step further. I think that a leader should be able, when leaders make decisions, it's very important to be able to have a good balance between short term and long term. So, as leaders, when we make decisions, we are frequently judged by others on the immediate output, on the
Mm,
immediate outcome, on how
yeah.
this leader's decision will make me feel now. But great leaders always have that strategic piece in mind. So, and sometimes that's thinking about strategy and your future can jeopardize the short term decision today. But great leaders find strengths in themselves and confidence in themselves to be able to make a decision which will work well both for today and tomorrow, but especially for tomorrow.
And I don't know, my clients are corporate, and you see this all the time, that not all of them, I won't say all of my banks, but a lot of them, it's what have you done this quarter? And that's not a bad thing. Listen, we have to have goals, we have to have
Yes.
measurements, we have to have these benchmarks. I think though, if we try to manage a number, we're going to fail, because they're humans executing whatever to get the numbers right on the back end. So if we're not supporting and changing the individual's behavior, like you said, they go back to their desk and they go, what do I do next? Right? There's a
Yes.
roadblock. So I think having a strategic plan, and then that execution short term, as well as this is where we are this quarter, but let's not forget about the whole year ahead, right? So, but we can't
Yes.
only look ahead either. We need to measure today. So I agree with you, and there's got to be the balance of the short and the long term. Otherwise, we're positioning ourselves for immediate gratification, but not sustainable growth. Or we're always looking for tomorrow, but what do we have to get it done today, right? We got to get results every day, not just a year
Mhm.
from now. So I think that balance is real important.
Yes, I agree. There is actually a term that describes short-term thinking mindset. It's short-termism.
Hmm.
Short-termism. But like you said, it's really hard to make a decision that will jeopardize how you look as an executive
Yeah.
this quarter or at the end of the year. And understandably so. The executives are under so much pressure
Yeah.
from the board, and obviously, if it's a public company, from all of the investors.
Yeah.
So then it comes down to the leader's communication skills as well, where a leader needs to be able to explain
Yeah.
why they are making the decision, which will plant some seeds today for
Yeah.
the results that will be seen in the future.
I remember I had a boss many, many, many years ago. I was still young in my career, and they were changing our territory. And so I ask questions. I always ask questions. I'm curious. I want to understand, because if I
Mhm.
understand, then I know how to execute, right? I know what the priorities are, et cetera. And so I was just asking questions so I could understand, to be able to execute what the company was asking us. And I remember he turned to me, he goes, I got my own problems. I can't worry about you.
Yeah.
And so here, bosses, right? Again, and I tell my kids now, Katya, I say, listen to me. When you have a good boss, learn from them. But I'm going to tell you where you're going to learn more from: when you have a bad boss, because you're going to think, oh, I don't like how that
I
felt. Or
don't.
that's when he said to me, I got my own stuff to worry about. I can't worry about you. I knew you're on your own. I couldn't go to him. He wasn't going to support me. So I had to figure it out. So what do you do, right? I'm a doer. I got friendly with back office, and here they said this. What does that mean? What's the system? How do I do it?
Yes.
I became curious for my own success, but I just put him on ignore. That's sad. That's sad. But we learn how not to be that kind of leader, as well as the good leader. So it's just funny as you were saying that. What shaped you, Katya? What shaped you to become this great leader that you are, and now you're helping others do the same?
Well, that's a very interesting question. Well, I think a number of things. I think that growing up in Russia in the 80s and the 90s definitely made a huge impact and a stamp on who I am as a person.
Mm,
My parents never complained, never blamed. They just plowed through.
mm.
So that shaped my results looking, results oriented mindset, solution mindset. So when challenges arise, I think of the solution, I think of a potential result, and I don't get distracted by the things I cannot control, or we cannot control by
Yeah.
ourselves as a team. And so that focus really helps me be a great leader. I think that playing chess with my father, when I was in high school, we played chess every evening with him after work, helped me shape as a strategic person and think of the next moves and what it's gonna look for myself and others. My mother had a small business later in the 90s when people could have a small business, could be entrepreneurial, and just seeing her being a strong person and figuring things out and taking the bull by the horns definitely shaped me. I also had an opportunity to do a lot of public speaking early on in my career, and that just gave me the confidence in myself, in sharing my ideas, and in managing crowds, leading others. And lastly, my fantastic experience at Honeywell Aerospace. And I always say that professionally, I grew up at Honeywell Aerospace, Phoenix,
I love it.
Arizona, Engines Product Center. And the reason for it is because we learn the fundamentals of process improvement principles. So Honeywell Aerospace and Honeywell in general has the Honeywell operating system, which it's a mindset, it's a operating system, it's a set of tools that drive focus and productivity, both in the shop floor and also in an administrative environment. And as a leader, you want to be focused and productive. So throughout my career, I have been able to apply those tools both to myself and to my leadership style.
I love it. And I love that story about your family, your mom and dad being focused and tough and the culture. I mean, that was the culture in Russia, especially in the 80s and 90s. So having good role models as far as that leadership, right? It's lead by example. And your parents did. They were like, just get it done, focus and get it done at all costs. And then going to the Honeywell, you learn the system end of it, right? That strategic
Mhm.
thinking, the chess, all of these little pieces really make us the tapestry of who we are and how we show up now as leaders, right? As adults
Yes.
in our own right. So I love that the pieces of the puzzle. The other thing I wanted to say is I hope everybody's listening because a lot of salespeople, right? Because I'm sales, that's who follow me. I want you to hear this, guys. Sales is so important, and you have to have a system in sales, right? I have my 7-step process that I teach. There has to be a system that's duplicatable and repeatable. Otherwise, we're chasing our tail and we're going nowhere. Well, the flip side, most industries are regulated, compliance, there's operational things that we have to do, right, to remain sound as a business entity. So sales has to play nice with the ops and the compliance people and vice versa. So I always, when I teach, right, when I go into my companies, most of the CEOs will have me work with back office as well as the sales team that are client centric, client facing, because we have to understand each other's roles. Because together, if I understand you, I like, oh, that's why she needs that report. Flip side, oh, she's
Yes.
talking to that client. She needs the answer now from a compliance standpoint, right? So we don't do anything to jeopardize the business. So understanding the entirety and breaking down those silos, I think are real important. But I also think each department has to be systematized so that we can teach, right? Rinse and repeat
Hmm.
those successful processes. But then as an organization, eliminate silos. What does that system look like so that we're supporting each other no matter what department I need at that moment or needs me at that moment? Does that make sense?
Oh, yes, and I cannot agree more. It's so exciting to hear what you're saying because to me it means discipline. I really like the phrase, I don't know who said this, but routine will set you free.
Mm.
Routine will set you free. Having that schedule, some people, some organizations call it your cadence or the rhythm. It's
Yeah.
just so important because again, it keeps you focused. It ensures that even the toughest things that you naturally would want to avoid, they get done because they're now part of that system, like you were saying, that we are going to look at our financials. We are going to look at our cash flow. We have a monthly meeting on our calendars to look at our uh, strategic priorities for the year and see if we need to make adjustments. So it is important to definitely have that. There are a couple of other tools that I really enjoy, and they're very simple, and I would like to share them with you. The type of the tools that I learned in the production floor, in the manufacturing environment, but that apply to everything we do. And one is kind of fun, I guess, in a way where um, I'm gonna have some fun with this tool. So once I heard someone saying, well, asking the question, how should a businesswoman dress? And the answer is quickly. The businesswoman needs to get dressed quickly. Now, in a manufacturing environment, quickly doesn't mean running around. It means that you don't waste time on unnecessary steps.
Yeah.
So you are not going to be an effective leader if you get your team to go through a ton of unnecessary steps, because that's going to frustrate them
That's
and you're
right.
going to lose their confidence and trust. They will think you don't know what you're doing. So when you work with your team and you work with them, you assign tough things to them, walk with them through the process of how they're going to accomplish that. So the actual tool is called process mapping, and it's I can spend hours talking about process mapping, and there's a whole discipline around it, and I absolutely love talking about it. But when I coach other people, just to make it simple, for like if I coach someone in a really small business, I just tell them count the steps. Even you just simply count the steps to getting something done, it will
Mm.
lead you in the right direction. So in, let's say, marketing and sales, if you want your audience to sign up for your training online, count the steps it's going to take them, or you're making them take, to get to that subscribe button. Because they're going to get a link from you, they're going to click on your link, and then once they go on your landing page, will that subscribe button be right there, or do they need to spend 3 seconds looking for it and then it
Yeah.
takes you somewhere else? So just count those steps and eliminate the unnecessary ones. So that's like one approach of leaning things out, and it applies to any process in your personal life, or in an administrative environment, or in a manufacturing environment. And another tool that I really found useful at work is about getting to the root cause of issues. And it's called the five whys. So asking why 5 times. So let me give you an example. Let's say your product didn't get out of the door on time. Your first why would be, or why didn't it go out the door? And someone might say, well, the shipping guy, he just fell asleep at his desk. So then an immediate response could be, oh my gosh, this is not his first time. We got to put him on a performance improvement plan or replace him.
Right. Right.
But let's ask another why. So why did he fall asleep? Well, that's because he has been working 60-hour weeks for the last 3 weeks. Uh-huh, interesting. Well, why? Well, because now, for multiple reasons, that opens the door to multiple reasons. Maybe the department doesn't have a manager anymore, and that person is taking on the management responsibilities as well. Maybe they lost 5 more people, and this guy is picking up the job of all of them. That's a whole different issue. So it is important to keep asking those whys. And even if you at least ask why 3 times, obviously there is nothing magical about that 5. It's just about navigating to the true root cause.
Yeah.
If you keep asking, it will help you get to the root of the problem and then solve it once and for all so it doesn't repeat in the future.
Yeah, it's so important, and I love that. And I'll share a tangible example in sales, Katya, because I think I really want everybody to understand what Katya just said. Why is so important to get to the root cause. I was teaching a coaching class, and I had a manager in there, and she'd been, with the bank in this case about 25 years, and had been banking 30 years, so well seasoned. The difference was that this was probably about 15 years ago. Banking had changed since she started her career. So bankers in the old days, they were order takers. They didn't have a lot of products, they didn't have a lot of services. You had one checking account and that's what you sold. Well, fast forward, now we have all these options. There's competition, there's software, there's online, right? So we're competing with ourselves internally as well as these external
Mhm.
entities. So she comes through and I knew her pretty well. Great employee, great manager. And she cared about her team. And she was off. So I went over to her at lunch and I said, "What's going on? There's something going on. You're not yourself." She goes, "They're going to fire me." I was taken back, Katya. I said, "They're going to fire you." Like, she was one of the good ones, right? Why?
Mm.
Because I'm not making my sales goals. And I go, "Why aren't you making your sales goals?" She goes, "Connie, I am so lost. I don't know what to do. Half the time I feel like I'm stuttering, and I,
Yes.
I know clients, but we never had to do this." And she was so overwhelmed and frustrated. She was looking to go. Now, she was probably about 58, 59 at the time. So she was like, "Can you believe at this stage in life, I have to look for another job? Like, she was distraught. Well, the next week, her market manager comes in through the training. So now she's working on this employee. And throughout the whole thing, she's like, "Yep, we're going to fire her to exactly what performance. But if she doesn't make the cut, we're going to fire her." So now,
Yes.
no, I didn't tell the market manager. I had spoken to the manager. So I said, "What are you coaching her on?" And she says, "Well, the coaching sales." And I said, "Okay, you want her to coach sales, but you're telling me she's not making her sales goals, and that's why you're going to
Yeah.
fire her." I just asked the whys. And by the time we got done, I had the market manager realize, oh my gosh, I'm asking her to do something she doesn't even know the first step to take. She had no system because she never had to do sales before. And the
Hmm.
market manager felt horrible. She said, "Oh my God, for the past 2 months, this poor woman is probably looking for another job." I knew she was. I didn't say anything. And she said, "And I can't believe the amount of angst I've created." And I says, "Well, you better call her on your way home and tell her new conversation. The performance, like the write-up is gone." I said, your job is to coach her, to give her the tools to be able to excel. And you've asked her to do something. She understands what she's accountable to, but you never gave her the tools. Not good leadership. I didn't say that to this person. The
Hmm.
person
Hmm.
owned it, and she said, "Well, I'm a crappy leader." I said, "No, you're not, because you're self-reflecting. You're taking ownership, and you're going to double down and help her now. Now you have a real plan of attack so that we don't lose her. Now she'll thrive because she cared. She was willing to do the work, and then she's going to pass it on to her team because she was
Yes.
all about developing her team." So
Yeah.
having misinformation like that, or the assumption is off, that's what you just described by asking those whys. It's not he was asleep at the wheel. Well, let's put him on a performance improvement plan when there's
Yes. Uh-huh.
a whole underlying thing going on that was beyond the guy's control. And now we're holding him accountable to things that he shouldn't be accountable for, right? Like, we have to understand the
Hmm.
madness behind this.
I agree. And I love that you have highlighted a really important skill of a leader, which is being accountable, taking that accountability and being able to own it. And if you do that, if you start doing that, if you start admitting your mistakes in front of your team, or admitting that you don't know something and asking your team to explain it to you, then that will ultimately get others to do the same. Others will be more accountable, and also admitting that they have done something maybe not to the best of their ability, and just be open to change. And some other important qualities of a leader that I think are important to highlight is leaders' ability to make decisions, to just be brave enough to just
Yeah.
get to the point of it and just make a decision. I think that another important quality is cognitive flexibility. And to me, that means a couple of different things, or could be applied to a couple of different situations. It's one, it's a scenario where when you made up your mind about something and you walk into a meeting and you sort of know what the outcome is going to be because you've done this before and you're pretty confident that since it worked for you before, but you gave your team an opportunity to speak and you listened and you gave yourself a permission to make a different decision, to change your mind. So I think that is very powerful. I think it's important to remember that it is more important to be right at the end of the meeting than at the beginning of the meeting.
Yeah.
So, and another part of cognitive flexibility is just to be able to adjust and react to new information. But when you don't have a lot of time to think about it, so if you are in the middle of already a crisis and you just figured out all of your next steps to try to recover, and then some other challenge comes up, but you don't lose it, that you have that cognitive capacity and the flexibility to say, all right, we have a new ingredient of an issue, we have some new information, we're going to pivot. And I think that is so important for a leader. Another great quality is being able to follow through. And that has to do with earning the trust and credibility of your team. Because it is so easy to get excited about in a conversation or excited about somebody's idea. And you just want to say, yes, let's do it. I'm going to follow up with you, or I'm going to assign one of my direct reports to follow up with you. So, because we want to make it happen. And if you don't follow through with the person to whom you have committed the follow-up, you're going to lose their credibility and they're going to remember it forever. Because as a leader, you can talk to dozens of people on a daily basis. You have so many touch points. But for your employee, you could be the only touch point when that person talked to somebody on the leadership team.
Yeah.
So we're always, as leaders, we're always being watched and assessed on our ability to lead, and that great quality of being careful in terms of when it comes to committing to doing something, being able to follow through on it is very important. And I also think it's important to acting with authority. And a lot of leaders, they do have kind of the book knowledge, and they have the ability, they have the strategic mindset, and they could be great at execution and driving that execution, but sometimes they think a little bit shy about themselves and don't always have the confidence to give a direction. They just have to find that confidence in themselves, and perhaps by making smaller decisions every day and learning how to communicate them confidently to others. But a leader needs to have a consistent persona and act with confidence, because when others see that a person is doubting themselves, they're going to doubt them. And if you act with confidence, and even where your decision is not maybe 100% bulletproof, if you act with confidence, others will tend to follow. So those are some of my thoughts on some of the important qualities of being a leader.
And I think that they're all important, Katya. The thing is, we have to be fluid because change is inevitable, right? The name of the show. Change is inevitable. It's around all the time. It's never going away. We need to learn to navigate it. You know, if COVID taught us nothing, it's like figure it out fast, right? So, and not necessarily right, but that also, I think, created an element of movement is good. Even if I'm stepping forward, it's the wrong step. I should have made the step to the left. You're in movement. It's easier to shift gears. So that fluidity, I think, is really critical. We don't always have to be right, and we don't always have to get it right on the first shot. I think that we have to have movement. We have to be fluid, and we have to adapt quickly, learn, unlearn constantly, to be able to navigate and to truly be a good leader, right? So we're out of time, but guys, listen, if you are like, oh my gosh, she makes so much sense. I need her. My team needs her. Whatever my organization needs her. Please email Katya directly. It's katya.hughes@inflectionpointstudio.com. I will put it in the show notes. Do not worry. And her website and blah, blah, inflectionpointstudio.com. And she does have a free gift. It's a guide to organizational alignment, and it's right on the website. There'll be a subscribe button right on that landing page. I will put the link that will take you to it. Subscribe, and that is your gift from Katya. Again, it'll help you. We'll tell them what that is, the organizational alignment. Katya, how will it help them?
Well, I did a survey among several executives, and the majority of the executives admitted that one of their main challenges is getting the executive team aligned and then the alignment of the entire organization.
Interesting.
And in fact, someone was recently asking for more advice. They said, "Oh, I got this job, and in my new job, I'm going to be managing multiple departments. It's a very cross-functional team. How do I get them all aligned and move in the right direction to follow me?" So, and in my guide, I provide an insight on the secrets of the secret sauce behind the
I love
organizational
it.
alignment and how to get all of your team move in the right direction and stay focused and don't waste time on the unnecessary task and help the company to reach its goals, the annual goals, and also its strategic objectives.
You have to have an infrastructure, right? And if it's out of alignment, it's like a car. If a part's not working properly, the car's not going to start. It's going to break down. It's the same thing with our organizations. We have to be infrastructurally sound. Otherwise, pieces, if one department isn't doing what's needed from them and they're stopping the growth or they're stopping the customer satisfaction or whatever piece of the puzzle that they're responsible for, that's dangerous. So that infrastructure has to be there. I love it. Thank you so much. I will check it out too. So Katya, thank you for being on, sharing your zone of genius, and really giving some things is number one, strategic, right? That's strategic thinking. But then you gave very tangible skills that people can start to say, am I good at collaboration? Am I good at fluidity? Am I good at, and if you're not, you have a resource, right? Reach out to Katya and she can help you navigate, right, those pieces of the puzzle, because it's not like we're going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that we're bad at everything. That's never the case, but there's always a growth opportunity. And I always end the show, Katya, saying information's a beautiful thing, right? We just had this lovely conversation about leadership, gave some ideas, gave some thought-provoking self-reflection, right? Of, do I have these skills? Don't I have these skills? Do I want to be a better leader? All of those pieces of the puzzle. So information's a beautiful thing. If we do nothing with it, it's information in our brain. Soon as we take a piece of what you said and apply it, reflect on it, and make a change, that's where magic and the repercussion of that change for the better, right? That we can improve, fill in the blank, whatever it is you're working on. So thank you so much for giving us tangible examples to execute from. I so appreciate that. And I appreciate you coming on the show. Love hanging out with you.
Honey, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking to you. It's so easy to speak to. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share my lessons learned and best practices with your audience. Thanks for having me.
I love it. Yeah, lessons learned. We're always learning, right, Katya? We're always learning.
Always
Thank you
learning.
again. Yes, thank you again, my friend. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover together, no matter where we are, where you are on change. I really hope my guests and I provide some insight, ideas, thoughts, a perspective maybe that you hadn't seen, a strategy, an idea, a concept. Apply it though, guys, right? So here's your call to action. Download the free gift. It's a free gift, but it's a resource that can help you perhaps make that next change, that insightful change, right? To whatever the future of your organization or yourself or your growth or your career is. So Katya, thank you again. Thank you for joining me. You've been listening to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman, on webtalkradio.com. I truly am honored that you show up every week and listen to the show. And I hope that my guests and I inspire you to take action to bring you to the next level of whatever change you're facing in your life. I love you all. I'm honored that you joined me, and we'll see you next week. Have a great one, everybody.